The wall clock ticks, a sharp, deliberate sound, its second hand striking like heavy droplets falling straight into my chest. Beyond the window, the rain whispers steadily, as though the sky itself is keeping a secret. Night 1.
You open the brown leather journal, the pen tremble lightly between my fingers.
Tonight you're late again, I write, each slanted letter tilting like my own unsteady heart. No text. No call.
Only the kitchen light spilling across a bare wall. I wonder, am I too sensitive?
Yet inside my ribs a coldness has begun to bloom. Night 3.
The rain stifles.
An engine hums in the alley, then dies. The door shuts with a hush, his silhouette slips past like a breath of wind.
I lean up from the chair, peeking through the curtain, catching only the streetlight's glitter on the shoulder of his coat.
No explanation. Only a single line tossed back. I've got something to do. Don't wait up. I've lost count of how many times I stare at my phone. Its black glassy screen throws back the reflection of a face, my face, that only weeks ago glowed with trust. Now each minute of waiting stretches into an invisible cord tightening round my throat. Day 5. A strange cigarette smell drifts through the hallway. He doesn't smoke. I touch the collar of his coat, the tips of my fingers catch a trace of ash.
My heart thunder, desperate to burst free.
Maybe a colleague, he says when I quietly ask. His smile is thin as paper.
Inside it, hear something snap.
Night 8.
I carve another small mark in my journal.
A hairline scar. Each stroke records another night he slips into the dark.
The rain tape on the tin roof, a rhythm of unease.
I recall the times he held his phone, his eyes sliding through me as if I were glass. I never imagined I'd be the kind of person to secretly check someone's messages. But fear, once rooted, grows like weeds.
I wait until I sleep.
The phone's cool blue glow spills across the face I once called home. Password?
Still hors anniversary. I swallow hard.
Everything opens with a pain that is almost gentle.
The last message. Don't tell anyone.
It will be over soon.
An unknown number. No name saved.
I read the words again and again, as if they might crack and spill a second meaning. It will be over soon.
What will end?
Us? This love?
Or something darker?
Day 11. He returns so late that dawn is almost breaking. His face is pale, his voice hoarse, smoke clinging to his breath. Work's been heavy, he says.
I force a brittle log and hear my own voice shatter like glass.
I become a hunter of shadows in my own house.
Listening to every hinge, every breeze. My heart drum like an alarm. Night 15. I stand by the window, my outline lost in the dark.
I see him leave, the black umbrella opening like an exclamation point in the rain. The car's headlights fade at the end of the lane. I wonder, if he is truly betraying me, will I have the courage to face it? I begin to count nights with my whole body.
The tremor in my hand, the purple bruise beneath my eyes.
My diary thickens, each page a shard of broken mirror.
You write, cross out, write again.
What is he hiding? Who is he hiding? Day 19. I hear him whispering in the kitchen, his voice low, afraid of being overheard.
When I step in, the phone screen goes black.
Just a colleague asking about work, he says with a faint smile. I nod, but in my mind each syllable of colleague lands heavy as stone.
Night 22.
A lightning flash splits the sky, illuminating his eyes as he looks at me.
Dead gas is far away, chasing something beyond my reach.
I want to ask, but the question lodges in my throat. Instead, I hear only my own sigh, long enough to sound like surrender.
Day 25.
I find a scrap of paper in his coat pocket. Hematology department, 11 p.m. The handwriting is jagged, unfamiliar. My heart contracts as if gripped by a fist. Hematology? Why? 100 scenarios bloom, each a needle in my chest.
Night 28. I dream in fragments. A shadow of an unknown woman.
His voice calling someone's name in the wind.
The stark white light of a hospital. I wake, forehead damp with sweat.
Reality and dream bleed into each other until I can no longer tell them apart.
Night 30. The rain pour down in torrent.
I hear the clock ticking, each beat a knock at fate's door. He slips on his coat, umbrella in hand. I want to scream, to stop him, to demand the truth. But my lips are sealed as if bound with tape. I only manage to write in my journal.
Tomorrow night, he will know the truth.
Whatever it is.
The rein gros évier, mingling with the second andes relant les clics. He close the journal and draw a deep breath.
Outside, his shadow melts into the night, leaving behind a single suspended question. Sharp as a hanging blade. What is he hiding from me? Night 31 has yet to arrive, yet fear already seeps through every corner of the house like a colorless, freezing mist. I once thought I lived with another person, now I realize I've been living beside a shadow of myself, a shadow named doubt. I mark the passing hours with thick, slanting strokes in the brown notebook. Each line is a tremor. The marks tighten like barbed wire around my mind. The denser they grow, the harder to escape.
Morning comes en sti brew coffee, sti smile at the neighbor.
Outwardly a person like any other. But inside, my heart has become a search engine, automatically scanning every glance, every gesture of his. I hear what should be meaningless, the sigh he gives when a message arrives, the midnight gleam of his phone across his face, the way he snaps the screen dark when I enter. Each time, something in me drains away. The 30th day has not yet come, yet the fatigue presses on my chest like a stone slab. I write, is he still the man I know, or only a shell concealing someone else? Once I tried the opposite, not to watch, not to listen, not to care. That night I set down my pen and whispered to myself, trust him.
Just one night.
But the soft click of the door still came, like a taunt.
Mayat sprang up like a qualed spring and rison dissolved.
I suddenly understood, trust is a wet thread, one breath of suspicion and it snaps.
Night 17.
I play a cruel game, hiding an old phone behind the potted plant to record the living room.
When he played back, he only the clock and the rein, and now and then a fin sigh.
His sigh? Or the sigh of the darkness itself? What chills me is not the answer, but the fact that I, who despise deceit, am becoming the greatest deceiver.
Morning 18.
By accident I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror, bruised eyes, skin gone pale. I remember how once he called me his little light, because my smile could chase away any gloom. Now that light is only a dim, wan spark.
He touched the mirror, cold spread from my fingertip to Mayat. Night 20.
That unfamiliar cigarette scent floods the kitchen again. I follow the thin trail of smoke, but when he opens the door, it's gone.
Working late again.
I ask, feigning casual. He nods, gaze drifting beyond the window. A flash of lightning rips the sky, catching on his lashes. A single drop clings there, or perhaps a pain I cannot reach.
Day 21.
I decide to follow him. My heart pounds like it will burst as I slip out a few minutes later.
The night is in black, only the streetlight glittering in puddle.
I keep my distance, each step feeding the fire of my fear. He walks fast, long strides, as though the wind is carrying him. Then, he stops before an old phone booth.
He hold my breath.
He lifts the receiver and speaks, barely audible. I cannot catch the words, I only see his shoulders quiver. When he hangs up, he stands motionless for a long moment before turning back.
He retreat into shadow, my heart beat a frantic drum against the silence. Back home, il émaillant dans the journal.
My handwriting trembles. Whom did he call? Who can make him shake like that? These questions are iron hooks. The more I pull, the deeper they tear.
Day 22.
Passing his desk, I notice a scrap of paper blown to the floor. Scrawled across it. Hematology Department, 11 p.m.
Mayat 5.
Again, hematology. Why? This time the fear shifts shape, from jealousy to something darker, heavier. Illness?
Or some black secret written in blood?
I begin to look at him as at a stranger, the slight stoop of his back, the hands colder than before, the eyes sunk deeper. He is weary, yet when I ask, he only smiles.
A smile drawn in mist. Night 24.
Rain falls in heavy sheets. He puts on his coat to leave. I suddenly grasp his hand, like a child afraid of being lost.
Do you have something you want to tell me?
I whisper. He pauses. For a heartbeat, I think his eyes are wet. But then he pulls away gently, brushing my cheek. Sleep.
You'll be back soon.
The door closes, leaving me alone with the rain and an unspoken question.
Night 26. Il lit Listening to the Rhin, My Thoughts at Angelskane. Il réalise, Fear need no proof.
It lives and grows by itself, feeding on every silence. I have turned each of his quiet moments into a blade for my own heart.
Day 27.
When the wind rushes through the window I shiver, not from cold, but from a nameless dread that now owns me. I can no longer tell love from obsession. My journal, once a treasury of memories, has become an indictment. And I am both prosecutor and accused.
Night 28. I dream.
In the dream he stands in a sea of dark red, holding a small lantern. I call out, but my voice is lost in the wind. When he turns, his face dissolves into smoke. I wake with my forehead drenched in sweat. Outside, the rain keeps its steady rhythm, as if the sky itself is recording my nightmare.
Day 29.
I sit alone at the table, staring at the dense lattice of slash marks. Night after night, I have built a prison of my own suspicion. And now I am the wretched inmate, jailed by my own hand. Night 30 approaches. I know that with one more step I will follow him to the end of his secret. Whatever the answer, an irreparable fracture or a truth more brutal still. I must know. There is no turning back. The clock ticks again, tick-tock, tick-tock.
The Heart beat off a hidden beast.
And I, the keeper of this confessional journal, wait for the roar that is coming.
Tonight, the sky hold no rain.
After 30 nights of endless drizzle, the sudden silence is almost terrifying. As if the whole world is holding its breath with me. A faint wind brushes the porch, carrying the damp scent of earth after a storm. The clock reads 10:45. 15 minutes more, if the mysterious schedule holds, he will leave the house. I sit in the chair, hands tightly clasped.
My hat pound like a distant war drum.
In the brown leather journal, the slashes have filled every page. I run a finger across each mark, it feels like touching a wall of thorns. Every stroke is a wound I carved into my own heart. The door opens with a soft sigh. He slips on the familiar coat, a folded black umbrella in his hand. The warm light spills across his face, a face I once knew like the lines of my own palm, now strange, like a figure from a dream.
I hold my breath.
He glances toward the bedroom, certain I'm asleep. Then quietly pulls the door shut.
I wait 30 seconds, counting the hammering beats in my chest.
Then I rise, wrap myself in a long coat, and open the door.
The night wind lash my cheek like a warning.
Beneath the dim street lamps his shadow stretches, his stride quick but unhurried.
I keep my distance, my step a light a whisper.
The city seems to lean into silence, dark windows, stray cats stilled. He turns down a narrow street that leads to the old bus depot. The lights there are weak, faded posters shiver in the wind. A taxi waits, its signal blinking amber like a cat's eye. He opens the door and slides in.
I beat my lip, tracing.
For an instant I think of going home. But some force pulls me forward. A second taxi glides up, I signal. Follow that one, I murmur. The driver meets my eyes in the rearview mirror, nods without a word. The car rolls on, keeping the same measured distance.
Like partner in a secret dance. The city stream past the window, deserted streets, flickering lamps, neon flourishing like beckoning fingé.
15 minutes later his cab stops at the rear gate of the city hospital. The sign hematology department reflects the cold white lights like the edge of a blade. I see his shoulders shiver slightly as he pays. He steps into the hospital's glow. I throw money at the driver and hurry after, my heartbeat a drumline.
My footstep whisper across the tiles slick with night dew.
The corridor stretches endlessly, steeped in the sharp scent of disinfectant. The echo of his shoes is the ticking of an eternal clock. He stops before a glass door marked, Bone marrow donation, authorized personnel only. My chest tightens. Bone marrow?
A chill ras down my spine.
He pushes the door and disappears beyond the glass.
I stand frozen.
All the imagined betrayals, the jealous visions I had painted, collapse like sandcastles at high tide. I sink onto a waiting room chair, ears ringing with the shuffle of feet, the crackle of announcements, the relentless beat of my own heart. On the reception desk lies the sign-in sheet. I glance down, his name, the familiar handwriting. Beside it, emergency bone marrow donor.
I beat my lip until it stings.
A nurse approaches, her voice barely more than a breeze. Are you with him? She asks.
Ino, mai troatait.
She smiles gently. He's been coming for weeks for testing, keeping it very quiet. Tonight a little boy finally matched with him. Not many people are a perfect match. It's a blessing.
Word tol like a distambel.
All those nights he left.
The scent of smoke, only the smell of stranger waiting in hospital corridor.
The text, everything will end soon, a reassurance from a staff member, promising that the long string of nights was nearly over. I feel suddenly small, guilty, like someone who has built a prison out of suspicion. Every slash in the brown journal, each stroke a knife I turned on the very love I feared to lose. The door opens. He steps out, a white bandage wrapped around his arm. His face is pale, but his eyes shine with a strange light. When he sees me, he stops short. We stare at each other, a silence heavy as stone. Why are you? He begins, voice rough. I don't let him finish. I walk to him and hold him tight. Warmth flows through the bandage, through my fear, through all those long nights of rain. Tears surge hot and unchecked. I cannot tell if I cry from relief or from shame, perhaps both. He strokes my hair, his hand trembling. I was going to tell you when it was all done, he murmurs, half apology, half explanation. I didn't want you to worry. The boy, my old colleague's son, he needed a donor fast.
Only he matched.
I didn't want you to be afraid. I pull back and search his eyes. This is not the gaze of a betrayer. It is the gaze of someone who has quietly shouldered the storm so the one he loves would not tremble.
Softly, my voice unsteady, he whisper.
I was afraid of everything but this. He smiles, weary but tender, like the first sunlight after a long storm. Well, now you know.
We stand there for a long time.
Outside, the night wind has stilled, and the sky, after so many nights of rain, is clear as though the storm never was.
As we leave the hospital, he opens the brown journal.
The slashes look back at me like scars, painful, but witnesses to the long night we have crossed. I add one final line.
Night 31, he found the truth.
Not betrayal.
Only love, silent, steadfast, and deep enough to teach me how to trust again. He closed the journal.
The clock in the hospital lobby ticks on. But now each beat is no longer the needle of fear. It is the quiet breath of a faith reborn. I sit frozen on the wooden bench in the hospital hallway, fluorescent lights washing my trembling hands in a cold glow. The bite of antiseptic stings each breath, as if it wants to scrape the doubt straight from my lungs. My heart pounds so hard it feels like a fist drumming against my chest, scolding me. Here it is.
The truth.
Now what excuse will you cling to?
The door to the Bon Marrow uni click shut behind Ethan, leaving me with the appointment slip. Bon Marrow d'honneur, Ethan Miller.
Each letter is carved into the paper like it was etched in stone. Night 31, when I was certain I would finally catch him in a hidden affair, has become the night I discover his heart is wider than every suspicion I have ever sown.
A look break from me, ragged, strict with tears.
For a month I played the bargain bin detective, tailing him, snapping furtive photos, hoarding scraps of evidence. And he, the man who vanished into the dark each evening, was only sitting for hours in a donor room, quietly giving part of himself to a child locked in a fight between life and death. I remember every return, his coat damp with rain, that faint smoke I mistook for betrayal. Each time, I shrank back, clutching the journal lined with venom. What are you hiding? Who is she? Now each sentence cuts back at me like a knife turned inward.
He feels small.
Foolish. Almost laughable. Ethan steps out at last, face pale, yet his eyes calm as ever.
When he sees me, he stop.
Surprise flickers, and softens into a quiet smile so gentle it twists the knife of my guilt.
You know, he stammer, my voice a fraying thread.
He says nothing. Only a slow nod, as if words would cheapen the moment. He crosses the space between us. The warmth of his hand on my shoulder collapses every wall I built. Why didn't you tell me? The question slips out before I can swallow it. I didn't want you to worry, he says, his voice low but firm.
Ik knew you de overthink.
I just wanted to do this myself. Someone needed help, that's all. The anger, the jealousy, the sleepless nights dissolve, leaving a hush that quickly fills with gratitude and a choking remorse. I open the journal scrawled with my accusations and turn to a clean page.
My pen tremble. Night 31.
I have my answer.
No betrayal. No lies, only a compassion greater than my fear. Forgive me for letting do cloud my hat. Ink bleed into tears, and let it.
Let the smudges stand as proof of a lesson carved deep. Sometimes what we call evidence of infidelity is merely the shadow of silent sacrifice. Ethan stands behind me, reading each word without a sound. His fingers close gently around mine, a silent pressure that tells me the long night of suspicion is over. A chime from the hospital PA announces the donation's completion, like a bell ending a vigil. But inside me it tolls a beginning, a rebirth of trust, a love humbled before quiet heroism. And amid the fading scent of antiseptic I whisper, unsure whether to him or to myself. Thank you for showing me that real love can be so silent, we sometimes have to lose our way just to find it. The hospital had finally thinned of people, its long corridors echoing with the occasional footstep like the low final notes of a mournful song. Ethan and I stepped out of the bone marrow donation room just as the sky began to pale.
Beyond the doors, the city still slept.
Dawn's mist hung like a quiet veil, softening the chaos that would roar back with daylight. The night's rain had passed, only the scent of damp earth lingered, mingling with the early drift of coffee from the tiny corner cafe. We walked side by side, neither of us speaking. Yet in that hush, everything seemed to speak louder than words. Each footfall touched the ground with a measured grace, blending with the first shy breeze, like a new heartbeat we both could hear. And suddenly I knew, love doesn't always arrive wrapped in grand vows. Sometimes it is simply the warmth of a hand sliding silently into yours, a reminder that, despite every doubt, you are still walking forward together. Fragments of the past 31 nights replayed in my mind, his silhouette fading beneath a street lamp, the cryptic messages I dissected word by word, the way his eyes dodged mine, signs I was too quick to label as guilt. Now those moments flickered like an old reel, and I saw myself as both actress and judge. I had let fear creep in, swell, and bind my heart, because I was too afraid to trust. I stopped at the lakeside.
The water lay glassy, reflecting a sky washed pink by dawn. My breeze dissolved into the mist, trembling like a confession.
I'm sorry, I whispered, so softly I almost missed it myself. I doubted you, when all along you were quietly doing something profoundly good. Ethan looked at me, his gaze calm, as though forgiveness had been waiting long before my words. He tightened his hand around mine, slow and certain. Sometimes, he said, voice low and warm, fear makes us imagine more than is real. But it also teaches us how to trust again, one more time. His words settled over me like the last chord of a long symphony.
No bitterness. No suspicion. Only the clean silence of understanding.
I opened my journal and turned to the final page. The young sunlight spilled across the blank paper as I began to write. Night 31 has passed. Its mark is not in the shadow of doubt, but in the light of trust reborn. I have learned, true love does not fear silence. It waits patiently, until we find it again. I set down the pen and exhaled, a breath as light as if I'd just shed a month of darkness. Beside me, Ethan gazed across the lake, a brief smile breaking like the first summer sun. No more words were needed, the quiet between us felt full. As we left the lakeshore, a simple truth revealed itself: fear is not the enemy. It is only the proof that we care deeply. But if we let it rule, it becomes a wall, separating hearts that were meant to beat together. I turned toward the invisible camera in my mind, as if those listening to this story were standing right before me.
Don't let fear become the wall between you and the one you love.
Trust me, nothing hurts more than realizing you built that wall yourself, only to learn too late that love had been waiting on the other side. If this story touches you, if you too have let fear cloud the light of trust, share your own moment. Tell us when you found the courage to tear down that wall, or the lesson you learned when love was put to the test. Leave your story in the comments, or simply offer a few words so other hearts will know they are not alone. And if you'd like to walk with me through the next pages of this journal, don't forget to subscribe. We will keep journeying, perhaps not only through happiness, but always through things worth believing in. I closed the journal. The story had ended, but its echo will linger, like a quiet reminder in every heart. After the long night of doubt, the dawn of trust is always waiting ahead.